Dear passengers, good evening. Your conductor here. Tonight, we journey through terrifying paranormal experiences of nurses. Grab your favorite drink and join us on this eerie ride into the unknown. Please board now. First stop, always together. Good evening. I write to you from Jalapa, Veracruz. I love the desolate road. It makes my workdays somewhat better. I am Ari, and I would like to share an anecdote with you. It didn't happen directly to me, but it's worth sharing. 3 years ago, my mother was in a clinic here in Jalapa because she had a fracture in her leg. During the day, I took care of her, and at night, an aunt did. Talking with a nurse on duty, we asked if she had ever had a paranormal experience, since many people die there in the hospital. I must confess that my mom and I love listening to everything about this topic. The nurse told us that on one occasion, there was a man about 60 years old hospitalized. He had diabetes and had fallen into a diabetic coma. For this, the only person who took care of him was a girl about 25 years old, pregnant, who was his daughter. The girl only visited occasionally since she had another little one and had no one to look after her. One day, the nurse in charge of the man met his daughter and said, "Oh, it's good that someone else came to visit your father. Yesterday my colleague and I went up to bathe him, and next to his bed was a lady. That way it won't be so heavy for you to take care of him alone. But, it seems strange that the lady who came thanked me for taking care of him and said that soon he would no longer suffer, that they would be together soon. I assumed the lady wanted to take him back home." The girl, very puzzled, kept thinking and told the nurse that they had no other family. And the girl asked the nurse what the lady who visited her father was like. The nurse said she was a lady about 60 or 65 years old, who wore a black skirt, flesh-colored stockings like those grandmothers wear, a shawl, black shoes, and had 2 braids. The girl burst into tears like a little girl. The nurse, puzzled, asked why, if there was a problem, and the girl said that they had buried her mother a month ago, and precisely just as she described was how they had buried her. The lady who visited her father was none other than her mother. And indeed, the man passed away later. I don't know about you, but I do believe that marriages meet even after death. I have more experiences. I hope you allow me to keep sharing. Greetings to all, and have an excellent trip, dear passengers. Second stop, Lost. Greetings passengers and conductor. My name is Carla, and I have been working as a nurse for many years. Throughout my career, I had been spared from experiencing any paranormal event until one night that changed. And it is this experience that I share with you today. It was early morning and there was little work, or at least that was the case in my area. However, around 2 in the morning, the workload in the children's emergency ward piled up so much that the staff couldn't keep up. So they called me to help. They particularly wanted me to admit a child. I told my colleagues that there was no problem, and so I headed over there. It should be noted that this is an entirely different area from mine, so to get there, I had to cross most of the hospital. I got up, put on my headphones, and began my walk. Almost halfway there, walking down a long and dark hallway, I felt a light tap on my shoulder. I stopped, took off my headphones, and saw that the one calling me was an elderly woman in a hospital gown. Seeing me, she said, "Excuse me, I need to get out of here, and I'm lost. Could you help me?" It should be noted that sometimes patients' clothing has to be cut or torn to remove it, so the fact that she had to leave in these conditions did not seem strange to me. I said yes and gave her directions to exit. She thanked me and we said goodbye. I continued my way until I reached the area where I was needed. I began my work, and when I finished, I set out to return to my place. And it was just on my way back that I noticed a great commotion had formed in one of the rooms, which caught my attention because a patient had died. I couldn't help but look, and there I experienced one of the strongest chills I have ever felt when I saw that the deceased was none other than the same woman who had asked for my help only minutes before. Third stop, the sweater. My cousin is a nurse, and on one occasion when her family went on a trip, they asked my mom and me to stay at her house to keep it from being left alone during that time, as they had previously suffered some attempted burglaries, and after all, we wouldn't be vacationing those dates. When the time came, my mom would sleep in the master bedroom, and I in my cousin's room. The first night came. The sound of a man who apparently couldn't breathe took me by surprise inside the room, but the strangest thing was that it came from the closet. Thinking that maybe it was my imagination, I tried to calm down, but again that sound was present, this time making my skin crawl completely. I ran out of the room and went to my mom, yelling for help. She calmed me down and said it must have been a nightmare, and then we both headed to the room. We turned on the light and, with fear, opened the closet. In it, there was nothing out of the ordinary, but looking more closely, we noticed something, and it was that on the floor was a sweater of my cousin, but it was stained with a red liquid, presumably blood. We decided to take it out and leave it in the living room, and so we went back to sleep, now together, but to our surprise, that breathing was now heard in the living room of the house. We spent the night as best we could, and the next morning we decided to contact our relatives, particularly my cousin, to ask her about that garment, and then what she told us left us frozen. Don't be scared, but I'm going to tell you what happened. One night before we left for the trip, around 11, someone knocked hard on our door. It was a young man, desperate, one of our neighbors, saying that his father was in grave condition, begging me to help them. Quickly, we went to their house, and there in the living room, I found the father of the family lying unconscious on the floor. I knelt and took his vital signs, but couldn't perceive any. However, when I performed the maneuver to try to revive him, pressing on his chest, my hands sank into the man's body, causing him to expel a gush of blood, which fell on me, staining my sweater. I realized there was nothing I could do for him. The only thing I did was call emergency services to take care of the situation. That night, after returning home, I took off the sweater and left it in the closet. Now I understand that the breathing in the room and then in the living room was possibly the spirit of the neighbor who hadn't found his rest. My cousin decided to get rid of the sweater, and after that, we never heard that terrifying sound in the house again. These paranormal experiences show how even in the daily routine of a hospital, inexplicable events can occur that leave a deep mark on those who live them. Dear viewers, thank you for joining us on this eerie journey into the world of haunted hospitals and brave nurses. Remember to subscribe for more chilling stories and hit that like button if you enjoyed the ride. Stay tuned for more spooky adventures.